Hello everybody, this is Zackster99. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite TV shows ever, and that is The Walking Dead on AMC. Now, ever since episode 1 aired, I have been hooked on this show, and pretty much my whole family watches the show as well. Great TV show. It's always full of drama, it's always full of suspense, and surprises is the big thing. I mean, there's been a couple of things I've been able to predict, but for the most part, it's been very unpredictable, and I think that's one thing I like about it. And, you know, it's about more than zombies. I think it's always been about more than zombies. I think that The Walking Dead has always been more about the people. And, you know, the people, the actors that play those parts, who they are, the relationships, and how they cope at the end of times. Much more than it's ever been about zombies. And that's what is the big draw to the show, is how people react, how people talk to each other, and how people live in a situation where we're in an apocalypse and we don't have all the luxuries of things we have and that we take for granted for every day now. Now today, I want to talk about a couple of things. Mainly, I want to go over some of the death scenes that we've seen of our favorite stars in The Walking Dead. Now here we go with the death scene of Shane. We all remember how evil and corrupt Shane was and what he did to Rick's wife, how he told Rick's wife Lori that, you know, Rick was gone, but he basically left him in the hospital in a coma. And, you know, had sex with Lori, and very possible that, you know, the baby that Rick carries now is Shane's baby, not actually Rick's. But that was a crazy scene when Rick had to kill his best friend, Shane. When Carl was messing around with that zombie that was stuck in the mud and throwing rocks at it, and then that same zombie came out in the field and got Del. Del was a great character. You know, he was always competing with Shane. He was a very, you know, he stood up for what was best and for what was right. Del did, and he was a class act in the show. And watching him get bit by that zombie or get his, I think he got his body ripped open by that damn zombie, that was tough. And then watching everybody react to seeing him, you know, no way to help him, and they had to say goodbye and shoot him. That was a tough moment. Seeing Del go was pretty tough as well. The next scene that I think was one of the hardest scenes for me to watch in The Walking Dead was the death of Lori. And that was when she told Maggie to cut her open because she didn't think she was going to be able to survive carrying child. And she was like, you know, telling Maggie and Carl that if she continues, that both her and her baby would die. So for her baby's sake growing inside her, she asked Maggie to cut her open and save the baby. And the goodbye scene that she had with her son Carl was really hard to watch, especially if you have kids. So it wasn't so much, you know, her dying that was sad. It was, I think, more the goodbye scene that she had with her son. And I think that any parent of kids would have found that scene really, really tough. Be sure you let me know down in the comments below. I'd like to know what you guys think. What was your hardest scene? What scene made you cry or come closest to crying the most if you've been watching The Walking Dead? Right after that, it wasn't long after that, I believe it was the same episode, at the end of the episode, Rick was gone when this happened, and when Rick came back, he saw, you know, this was in the prison, and he saw Carl come out, and he was like, you know, where's your mom? And Carl basically said she's gone, you know, or just shook his head, and Rick lost it. And watching Rick lose it there in the courtyard, and then watching Rick go through the difficulties of thinking he was talking to his wife on the phone, and, you know, and all these different things that the images that he saw of her, was pretty hard to watch as well. Now, another scene of somebody that surprised me when they died was Andrea. Andrea was a very good actress, I thought, in the show. You know, she was kind of a slutty kind of a woman, having sex with the governor of all people and everything like that. But when Andrea had got bit while she was locked up there by the governor, and he killed that guy, he killed his helper, so that he would turn into a zombie and then attack Andrea. That was a pretty tough scene as well. I liked Andrea. I hated to see her go. Definitely wasn't one of the saddest moments, but it was pretty sad when she had to say goodbye to her friend Michonne there before she shot herself. Andrea was a brave woman and pretty strong character for sure. Now, I know the next death that I have here on my list is was a tough scene for a lot of people, and that was the death of Herschel. Now, Herschel, when this happened, there was so much action going on, and I already kind of predicted that the governor would kill Herschel before that show. So it really wasn't a surprise to me, but there was so much action going on in the tanks and the battles and everything like that. I think when the governor killed Herschel and chopped off his head with that sword, I think it just pissed me off. And I didn't have time to be sad. I was like, somebody kick his ass, you know. I was too into the moment and too angry to be that sad about it. I mean, it was sad, especially when you watched, you know, Maggie's reaction and Beth's reaction through the fence to seeing their father die. You know, that kind of sucked. Another scene that was tough to watch was when Daryl's brother got bitten and turned into a zombie and turned on his own brother. And Daryl had to shoot his brother. You know, seeing Daryl cry like that for his brother was definitely hard, and I can see why it would be a hard moment for a lot of people to watch. And most recently, we saw a few episodes where the relationship between Daryl and Maggie's sister Beth seemed to be getting close. They were actually out by themselves for a while before Beth got taken by the people in the hospital. And they started getting really close, and you watch that relationship grow. And this was kind of surprising after we saw, you know, Daryl get so close to Carol, the older lady, early on. But you could really tell that Daryl had even stronger feelings for Beth as their relationship and as they kind of got close there while they was out alone. So when the lady in the hospital, when the officer in the hospital ended up shooting Beth, even though Beth went at her, Beth did attack her first and, you know, was like going to try to stab her in the chest, I believe. And the lady was like, screw that, and shot Beth right through the head. Watching that was really tough, watching Rick and Daryl's reactions to that. I mean, they just went ballistic and, you know, shot that lady. But I think the hardest part of that was watching Daryl carry Beth out of that hospital. And, you know, you could see that Daryl was crying and weeping as he carried her out. And then again, we saw the reaction of Maggie, who's now lost her father, and now Beth. Poor lady. She does have Glenn. Obviously, she has that strong relationship with Glenn, but to see her lose anybody else would be tragic after losing her father and now Beth. So the question is in watching episode 12 of season 5, we see that the gang has found what looks to be a safe haven in Alexandria, Virginia. What looks to be a nice place. But viewers, as like myself, and I'm sure everybody else, doesn't trust it. Because we've seen, you know, what people are like in this TV show. So I don't think anybody really trusts this town. It's almost like it's too good to be true. And Daryl and us as well are still grieving over the death of Beth. But could it be now that Daryl is still grieving so hard and not liking this new town that he's going to get himself killed? That's what it looks like in the preview for episode 13 Obviously, this airs this next Sunday. I want to know what you guys think. I, find it hard to believe that they would kill off Daryl Norman Bates, who is the actor who plays Daryl. But if you look in this article, I will link this article down below. It's from December, right after Christmas. They're talking about, spoilers, Daryl Dixon to die grieving for Beth. And in this article, it talks to Gustavo Valdez, the graphic comic writer, spoke safely about the characters of the show and how they maintain secrecy in the series plot. When asked by the show anchor about any character safety in The Walking Dead, he immediately replied, "No one is safe, definitely not. Looking at you, Norman Reedus." So it also has a video here of Robert Kirkman talking about who lives and who dies. And Daryl, as we already talked about, had a strong connection with Herschel Crane's youngest daughter before she was kidnapped. And he had tried everything to save her from that creepy Atlanta hospital, but sadly failed in rescuing her alive. But this is not the first time that Kirkman talked about Daryl's death. He gave a similar statement in June this year. He said, "By the end of that episode, you're going to have a much better understanding of what's going on with them and why they're so important to the show. Oh, and Daryl dies," he told Entertainment Weekly. So, Robert Kirkman has said that Daryl dies in June of this last year, before this whole season 5 started. My question to you guys is, I hate to play a spoiler here for The Walking Dead or what's going to happen, but I've heard people talk about if Daryl were to die, they would quit watching The Walking Dead. Would that be you? Is Daryl such an important part of the show that if he died, you would no longer watch it? Herschel was a pretty big part of the show as well, and he died, and I don't think The Walking Dead lost any ratings after his death. But we have to look back at Daryl. Daryl's been there since episode 2 of season 1. He has been a strong character, always using his bow, very tough, very emotionally tough, especially with the relationship he had with his brother. He shows mental toughness, sometimes a little bit on the edge of insanity, but I think almost everybody that watches the show definitely loves Daryl. Seeing him go would cause huge reaction from the rest of the crew in the TV show. It would be very, very, very difficult to watch, I believe, seeing them lose Daryl. So it makes me anxious for the next episode 13 coming up, to see if he does die, because it sure looks like he gets in trouble with that new guy that they met, Aaron, outside of the town. And makes me nervous, and I wonder what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to continue to watch the show, even if Daryl is lost. It's going to be hard to watch, and it's going to be hard to say goodbye to him because he's been with us for 5 years now. So it's going to be interesting. I want to know what you guys think. Also, for any of you guys saddened by the fact that we might lose Daryl in The Walking Dead, I want you to go ahead and please look at this link right under here that says related. Norman Reedus dies 4 times in 2014. The Walking Dead star asked fans not to believe rumors of his death. And there is an article about that. That is also posted on the same day, December 26th, by the same lady. But keep in mind that, Robert Kirkman said he's going to die. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be this year. So, who knows what's going to happen with The Walking Dead. The one thing I am sure of is that more and more of us out here are going to continue to tune in to The Walking Dead. They've already guaranteed, AMC's already guaranteed, are signed for the contract for Season 6, so we know we're going to have it through at least next year. And AMC believes and wants to tell their fans to expect The Walking Dead to continue through at least the year 2022. So it sure sounds like AMC is committed to airing the show. And why wouldn't they, when it continues to grow and have ratings like it's had, the most watched and highest rated TV show, I think, ever. AMC would be crazy to cut ties or to cut the show. Eventually, though, you would have to believe that at some point they're going to run out of ideas and run out of scripting and things for the crew to do. But Been a very interesting TV show, you know, for sure. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think. Would you guys quit watching The Walking Dead if one of the main stars like Daryl died? What if Rick died? You know, that would be hard to watch. Watching Carl's reaction and Carl say goodbye to his father and stuff like that. I could see that happening at some point. Seeing Rick die. And watching him kind of pass on his legacy and everything through Carl. Carl's growing up pretty good and becoming pretty mature already. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think is going to happen in The Walking Dead? What do you guys expect to see? Another question I want to ask you guys about Walking Dead. In the comic strip, there's evidently some really bad evil guy that should be coming up in the show soon. Negan is supposedly, you know, 10 times worse than the governor, and he's supposed to be one evil SOB. Is he going to make it in Season 5, maybe at the end? Are we going to see Negan? And how bad could he possibly be? I haven't read the comic strips, but evidently this guy is supposed to make the governor look like a nice guy. Wonder what you guys think. Be sure you leave your comments down below. Be sure you rate this video. Be sure you tune in to The Walking Dead, the last 4 episodes of the season, because it looks like it's going to start getting really, really good. Take care, everybody. This has been Zaxter99.